Okay, so this is your basic artist mannequin. So on your mannequin you have the different parts, main parts of the body. You have a head, you have the joint between the head and the chest would be like your neck. You have your shoulders, upper arms, lower arms, with the other joints being the elbows, the wrists. You have your hands. You have the torso, the waist, the hips, and then the joints for the legs. You have your upper leg, and the joint would be the knee. Then you have this ankle, and you have the foot. Okay. Notice though that a lot of these parts, they start wide and then they become narrow once they get closer to the joints. So the head is going to start wide, but then once you get down here, it's a little more narrow. Now, you do not want to put it on the paper and trace it, because the point is to observe it and then draw it on your sketchbook. Don't forget that you have the neck here. Underneath the torso, you have this semi-sphere. You don't see the whole entire sphere, you only see part of it. And you have your hips, you have another two joints here. The thighs, a lot of people, they draw it like two sticks. They're not two sticks. They start wide and then they get more narrow as you get close to the knee joint. Same thing for the lower legs. You know, you have your calves, and the upper area of this lower leg is wider, and then it gets more narrow as it gets closer to the ankle joint. Okay, so when you're drawing your limbs, whether they are arms or legs, they are not just two sticks and a circle and two more sticks. Like, really observe the shape of these. So for example, when you're doing the head, you would draw it like this, a little bit more narrow when it comes down. And then you have not a whole entire circle or sphere. You don't see the whole entire sphere, right? You just see part of it. And then you have, the torso. It gets wide, and then it gets a little more narrow as it gets down towards the waist. And then we have this other semi-sphere, right? You don't see that. It's not a circle that you're going to draw here. It's part of it. So you mainly draw like half circles right here. And also look at how wide it is. For example, mine looks a little bit more narrow than it actually is on here. So on here, it's actually right here. So pay attention to those things. And different mannequins are a little bit different from each other. So just because I'm drawing this one right here doesn't mean that yours is going to be exactly the same. Some of the mannequins have like a wider shoulder area. Then you have the hip area. And then you have these two spheres. And obviously, depending on the position of your mannequin is how you're going to draw the rest of the body. Maybe you have this going this way. And maybe this one is... Sorry, somebody's ringing my doorbell at home. Alright, so then have that. And maybe up here on the arms. Now obviously I'm not drawing this position. I'm just drawing like a general mannequin here. So a position that's kind of like the feet and the arms, the hands are kind of like leaves. I always run out of space for the feet or for the legs. I start too big. So that's just something to watch out for. You want to practice the whole entire leg, or the whole entire body rather. So a position that's pretty easy to draw would be something like what I'm drawing. Something basic where, maybe you're just going like this, right? If you want something more complicated, then we can start like overlapping, right? And it's not so complicated that you guys can't draw it. It's just you know, you're just adding some depth, some space to it. Makes the composition more interesting. Something even more complicated or more advanced would be to have something coming towards you. So something like this. Okay? Not that you guys can do it. It's just like a step above. So we're going to try all of these different positions. Once you feel confident drawing a simple position, then you can do another one, and you can do another one that's a little bit more complicated, and that way you practice more. So, you know, you would finish your oops, I made a mistake right there, because it starts wide and it finishes narrow. Something like that. Okay? After you draw it and you're happy with it, then you can start doing the shading. Now, as far as the mannequin goes, you have to be careful, because when they break, and they break easily, they cannot be put back together, and then you end up with these poor fallen soldiers that lost the war against teenagers, and you know, they're missing limbs and arms and heads. Very sad. So,
are we gonna get the tiny ones that are like
no. So, for example, if you are trying to move the arm in a certain position and it's not going, then don't force it, because you're gonna break it. So, like, you know, something like that, something like unnatural would be harder to move, because these are meant to just mimic the human body. Like right here, see how it goes back? Well, then I can't do it like this from this position. I have to kind of change the arm, or maybe there's something, you know, the limb is backwards or something. So figure it out gently, I guess, is my point. Same thing with the other joints and, you know, the feet and all of that. Just be gentle with the mannequin so that we have them for a long time. Questions? Okay.